And, you know, I was like, well, what sort of topics do you need? Like, what topics are you looking for? And, you know, she mentioned, well, we want marketing, like, you know, creating funnels and systems. And I'm thinking, okay, I can talk about that. And she's like, well, we want sales and we want, you know, mindset. And I'm like, okay, I can do all of that. But where I feel like where I really shine and where clients have really gotten the best results, and this actually was a surprise to me, but even when I started looking back over it, and really started paying attention, like where clients really got the best results was when they first started working with me and realized that we were going to change their rates and change their prices. And typically what happens is, like, I'm able to see what's possible a lot of times before the client is even able to see that. And that's not just because, you know, I've got lots of experience with working with coaches and, you know, I've kind of been in this industry for a couple of years, and I feel like the online business is kind of like dog years, right? So it goes much faster than like the quote unquote real world, right? So because it's just, you know, information is just moving at the speed of light now. And so like I've seen a lot in my, you know, last, you know, 5+ years in the coaching world and like 10+ years doing, you know, doing business online. And what I can see for a client is typically more than what they were expecting to charge for themselves. So for those of you who are coaching and kind of just getting started with coaching, let me know, like, how did you choose your first coaching package rate? Like, what made you decide this is what I'm going to charge? Did you look at, you know, what other people were doing? Maybe you hired a coach and you said, okay, well, I'll charge what they're charging. Or you said, well, because I'm not as experienced as them, I'll charge less. You know, was there a coaching certification that you went through and maybe they told you, hey, this is how much coaches charge? Like, what was it that got you to choose your very first coaching rate? So the way that I chose my very first coaching package rate was, honestly, I looked at my expenses. So I got to the point where I was really ready to leave my full-time job. Excuse me. And I whittled down my expenses to essentially one paycheck, which at that time was $1,500. I was getting paid netting $1,500 every 2 weeks. So I was able to squeeze all of my expenses to one single paycheck. I was living in Georgia. I live in Georgia now, but, you know, living in Georgia, this was, you know, 10 years ago. And my rent was only $650. I had paid off my car loan. I had gotten, I still had some credit cards, but I gotten that down to like very small. And so essentially, like, I only had like 1,500 of expenses. And I was like, okay, if I can get this down a little bit more, I'll really be down to like $800 of expenses. And I did. I was able to get my expenses down to like $800. So that's kind of where my first rate came from. The first client that I worked with was a done for you client, and I was doing his content and social media. And I was like, okay, I'm going to charge $800 a month, because I figured if one client will pay for my expenses, then every other client is like a bonus, essentially. So that's how I decided my first. So let's see what you guys say. Melissa says, I chose my package bundle to make it affordable, but it also gave me a chance to get some first-time clients. Sue says, I chose my rates based on the rates I charged as a tutor. Okay. Yep. Tasha says, my coaching certification said the going rate was $200 to $400 an hour. Yeah. And I researched some of the competition, decided what I wanted per hour and service, and that pretty much decided what I wanted to charge. Okay, cool. And Tanya says, haven't decided yet. Okay, cool. I don't know why they changed my my primary color, but I'm going to change that while we're here. So typically, and your answers are like spot on. In general, that's how many people sort of choose. It's the gist and like the general theme is basically outside of yourself. It's based on something that either someone else says, or based on expenses that you have, or based on rates that you charged before, or based on the client to make sure that they can pay for it. Or it's typically, when you first choose your rates for coaching, it's typically based on something outside of yourself. So what I want to do today is I want to give you a different way of thinking. Okay. Francine says, I chose my rate based on what you said in one of your Saturday live streams. Well, you're probably a lot further along than many of us were when we first started. And that's good. So let me kind of break that down for those of you guys who were not here when Francine was here, or maybe you didn't take action at that time. The number one way that I choose my rates now, and how I like to choose rates and pricing for coaching, for courses, for consulting, whatever it is I want to offer, is I go within and I think to myself, how much do I want to make? Not because I have expenses that I need to cover, not because this is what other people are charging, not because I think this is what people can afford. It's literally, what do I want to charge and what is inside of me for this? And typically what happens is, when I first start working with clients, that's typically the first thing that we look at, because when I ask, okay, what are you charging? And then they say it, I can sense and I can hear like a wavering in that rate. And let me explain that. How I can actually hear that is because I'm an empath and I'm really good at reading energy. And it's something that I've started leaning into a lot more in my coaching business. And especially when we kind of have that first conversation, I can hear it. And so, I'll say something like, okay. And even before that, sometimes it's, during that enrollment process where we go through the profit planner and I ask, okay, like, what's the rate that you're charging? And, they'll say what the rate is. And then sometimes the next thought is, or the next words that come out of their mouth is something like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, oh, you didn't come up with that rate yourself. You came up with it from outside of yourself. Absolutely fine. And depending on where I feel like they are from like a mindset standpoint, based on the conversation that we've had, I'll say one of two things. I might say something like, I think that rate is fine, but we likely have some room to move. So that's depending on, like I said, I vibe with the person and kind of see where they are. So that might be one thing that I say, or in general, the next thing that I'll say is like, oh, you absolutely need to double that. Like, I'll go straight for the kill, essentially, like go straight into it. And it really is just a matter of kind of determining where they are and where you are. So let me walk you through that as if we were on a conversation together, because as Rebecca said, she said, I've heard so many formulas for pricing and having a hard time deciding what works for you. So that's my main goal today, is to really help you figure out what actually works for you, because anyone can give you pricing strategies. Anyone can give you a formula. But the key is like, as you continue in your coaching business, the real key is to learn trust, and to learn how to trust yourself, and to trust that you make good decisions and exactly when you have a rate, you stick to it. So let me explain first, and I'll answer Melissa's question very quickly. Yes, you can always increase your rates over time. You can increase your rates just because it's Saturday. Be like, Saturday, January 16th, time to raise the rates. So anytime, there are no rules. You can do whatever feels good to you. And like I said, we talk about that a lot more inside of Create and Fill Your Coaching Program. We have an entire session on pricing. So if you've chosen your rate based on something outside of yourself, meaning you looked at what someone else was charging, your coaching certification suggested that this is kind of the range, or, you didn't choose it based on what you really felt good about doing, this is likely what's going to happen. You are either going to have a hard time or easy time. And you're like, well, wait a minute, that's the only two options. But let me explain to you what I mean by that. You're either going to have a hard time selling because you don't actually want to charge that rate. You just chose it just because it was something outside of you. And energetically, you won't really feel like doing the work required in order to bring clients in. Or even if you do get clients on the phone or have conversations, you won't really want to bring them into the program because it's not a rate that you actually want to charge. You don't want to deliver what you have to deliver for that rate. So you will subconsciously sabotage yourself. And that's what I mean by you'll have a hard time. Or on the other side, you'll have an easy time, which really ends up being a hard time, but you'll have an easy time of selling clients in because your rate is either so low or it's like such a no-brainer for what you're delivering. And you'll pack yourself out, but you'll get to a point of burnout and you will either stop coaching or you'll determine that this is just not for you, or you'll get to a point of exhaustion because you were over delivering for the rate that you energetically want to receive. Not because you're not making enough money. Like you could absolutely be making enough money at, whatever rate you choose. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the energetic side. But what will likely happen is that if you do start bringing in clients at the rate that is not aligned for you, if you have an easy time of bringing in clients, you're going to have a hard time because you're not really going to want to charge that. And therefore, you'll get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm burnt out. I don't want to do this anymore. Something will happen to where you will maybe self-sabotage yourself again, but it just won't feel right. Like it won't be congruent. It's not in alignment. Versus when you choose a rate or choose a pricing based on what you truly want to receive in exchange for what you are giving out, you will have a much easier time. And this is what we mean by alignment and flow and really being in that space of where you want to be. So let me give you some examples and hopefully will kind of help clear this up for you as well. When I first started charging, I was charging $800 for my coaching, and that was based on expenses. And I booked clients right away. I booked my first 3 clients, and then I suddenly was like, I don't want to keep doing this. I am going to burn out. I don't want to book any more clients. This is way too much work. This is not what I thought I was going to be doing when I wanted to, try to work for myself. Like, this is just not it. I'm not happy. And I knew that I wouldn't keep going based on that rate. And when I spoke with my coach who I'd hired to guide me in this process of starting this business, she suggested that I double my rate. And I remember this was the first time that I chose a rate that was my own choice. After she said that and kind of gave me the confidence to, jump that rate up, I was like, well, I don't really want to charge $1,600. Like if I'm going to charge $1,600, I might as well just charge $2,000. And I was like, $2,000 feels good. And the very next client I closed at $2,000. And then I was like, okay, if I'm really honest with myself, based on what I'm doing, I really want to charge $3,000 for what I'm doing. And I set my rate at $33.33. No one told me to charge that, but I set my rate at $33.33. It was 3 payments of $11.11, or if they did a pay in full, it was a single payment of $3,000. And I hung out there for a while, and I really, I got great results for the clients that I was working with. I had an amazing time. I was, loving doing what I was doing. I hit my first 5-figure month. I continued going down the path of, growing my coaching business. And it wasn't until I finally chose my own pricing for what I wanted to charge was when I started moving down the path of where I wanted to be. Okay. LaQueen said, I'm the same. Mine started in ministry, and then I just branched off of other coaches. Now I'm taking a course, including all of your videos, and you are my perspective and then my certification. Any suggestions on who I should trust for my certification? Any referrals, ladies and gentlemen? If you guys have suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I did not get a coaching certification. A coaching certification is not required for our industry from like a legal standpoint. And it is something that I say this all the time. Like if it helps you to grow your skills and in working with clients and helps you feel more confident, then absolutely go, do what you got to do. I essentially got my certification in the streets, right? Like just working with clients and like learning stuff over time. And obviously I can't recommend that for everyone, but that's how I did it. Morgan says, I have a consultation fee of $35, but I'm not sure about the cost of a coaching program because I'm a professionally trained chef. You should speak with Milan. Milan is inside of our Path to Six Figures program. She's a professionally trained chef, and she has a high ticket one-on-one coaching offer. She also has a group coaching program, and she does cooking classes. So, and all of those prices are based on what she wants to charge, whatever's congruent. So whatever you choose as a professionally trained chef, what do you think your skills, experience, service, and your time is worth? What do you want to get charged? And I mean, what would you like to charge? And I'm gonna jump on this again in a second. So I'm just gonna kind of bookmark this. But a lot of times when people are choosing their pricing and they're choosing their rate, they think that everyone is going to pay that rate. So hold that thought. And I just said it so we can all hold the thought, but I'll come back to that in just a second. Sandra says, I just picked a number that I thought was a lot. But that's like you went inside for that number where you're like, essentially it was your happy number, right? A number that feels like overflow, a number that feels like abundance. It gets you excited to deliver for your clients and to deliver for the right clients, right? Because now you're like every time you book a client, you're like, yay, I get to work with this client. I get to operate in my passion and do what I love to do. And I get to get paid really well for it. I'm sure my consultation fee is too low. I mean, there's no such thing as too low, too high. It's what you would like to charge for a consultation. Sandra says, I usually tell my clients to triple their rates. Like we start off thinking it's so low of yourself. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that for a second, because a lot of times what people don't realize is like a lot of times money, your view of money is tied into your own personal self-worth. And this is something that I'm like, okay, we're going to break these chains right away when I first start working with clients, because if you are attaching your personal self-worth to what you are offering, you are going, and you don't have a high enough view of yourself, which a lot of times we just don't, because it's hard to see yourself from the outside looking in. You are always going to undervalue yourself and undervalue your worth. And so what I want to suggest that you do is don't attach the number that you're charging to your own personal self-worth. Attach it to the number that you truly want to charge based on the service that you're offering, based on the energy that you're providing, and based on the transformation that your clients are getting. Like what they're getting on the other side is valuable. Okay. When you were charging $33, what kind of package were you offering? That was an 8-week coaching package. Yeah. Cool. I didn't know, Francine, that you were a professionally trained chef. Look at that. And then Sandra says, when I first started, my version of a lot was trash. Yes. So as you up level and upgrade, and I think Rebecca, you might have asked this question earlier, which was, can you, or it was maybe Tanya. No, it was Melissa, where you asked, can you increase that over time? 100%. So this is what I recommend that you do as far as like actually increasing your rates. And then we'll go back to the bookmark where I talked about everyone may not pay that rate. I raise my rates at the end of every year. So December 31st is the last day to get the rates for that year. And then the next year, the rates increase. And there's a couple different ways you can increase your rates. You can pull things out of a program, pull calls out, deliverables out, pull things out, which decreases what you're delivering for the same rate. Or you can just increase the rate and still deliver the same amount of items. So ideally, the transformation is still the same, but it just requires less of your time and effort. Okay. So that's one way to increase your rates. The other way is to, for my coaching, for my courses, what I do with that is in general, we start at a higher number for selling. So for example, a lot of the courses that I deliver or workshops, things that are on demand, I used to start a lot of them off at like $25, and it was like, okay, $25, and then the rate went up over time. And now a lot of times we're starting at $100 for a course, a mini course, a workshop, or anything like that. Like in general, we're starting at that higher range. Some of them might start off at $200, and that's just where we are in terms of where I am energetically and what I'd like to receive for the amount of effort and work and what I'm delivering and the transformation that I'm delivering as well. So you can absolutely change your rates over time. Like I said, I change mine automatically at the end of every year. But then also, I also do a lot of testing. I test out different price points with courses, not necessarily with coaching, because I already know like what I want to receive based on me showing up and having to sit in a chair and like be on a call for a specific amount of time. But I do test out different rates for courses in general. Okay. Hi, Cami. Glad to have you here. And Cami recently made her very first sale of the new year. So everyone, please help me congratulate her. Congratulations. And thanks for sharing that inside of the Get Coaching Clients community. For those of you who are not inside of the Get Coaching Clients community, let me just talk about that really quickly. Inside of the group, it is geared towards helping you to get coaching clients. And we're actually I'm going to be hosting a lot more inside of the group. We are hosting a challenge coming up in a couple of weeks. Cami participated in the last challenge. She's also worked with me on a couple of other programs. And I think it was after the 10K challenge that she really like got her fire, and she made her first sale of 2021 just a couple of days ago. And then another client or student or group member inside of the Get Coaching Clients community, she actually went viral after that challenge. She went viral on TikTok, and she's got like 10,000 followers on TikTok. It's ridiculous. And the next challenge that we're hosting is going to be amazing. I've already started planning it. If you would like to join us inside of the Get Coaching Clients community, you are going to go to LaTishaStyles.com/community. You can also tap the link that's in the description box. If you're watching this later, it will be there, or you can just go to LaTishaStyles.com/community. Okay, cool. Frankie says, sometimes it's not about the money, it's about the result. All the time, it's about the result. Absolutely. So let me cover what I said I was going to jump into, and then Rhonda, I'll get to your question in just a little bit. Let me jump into what I mentioned I was going to cover, as far as like a lot of times we set a price and think everyone's going to pay that price. Not true. Okay. So what I like to do, and this is, I guess, one of the first practical tips for a pricing strategy, is I like to set different rates so that people can essentially get in where they fit in. And I never have to convince anyone to buy. I never have to feel salesy. It's literally like, if this is the level that you are, come join us here. If you're not, that's fine. You can come join us at this level. If that's not for you, that's fine. Come join us at this level. If that's not for you, that's fine. I broadcast every Saturday, absolutely free at 12 p.m. on YouTube. So, I recommend that you have different pricing tiers and different pricing ranges. I typically do recommend that you start out with your high ticket for a couple of reasons. One, that's going to allow you to create the biggest impact, mostly, like in general, and like 99% of the time, it's going to allow you to create the biggest impact and the biggest result, which is going to give you the best testimonials, which helps to flow through everything else. Also, it's going to give you a better opportunity to change your own personal financial situation if you'd like to leave your full-time job and work for yourself full-time. It's also going to help you to create that one clear marketing message, because you've got one program that you're focused on. So that's essentially phase one. And I say phase one because this is basically what we do inside of the coaching program I offer, which is the Path to Six Figures coaching program. The phase one is like, okay, high ticket, let's work on that, get the systems in place for that. Then the next tier that I would recommend that you have is essentially a mid-range start to finish course. And that is an opportunity for people to learn, but not necessarily be in your live energy, but it's soaking up something that you've created, that you've infused with a lot of energy, that you're, teaching in your zone of genius, and they can download it and watch it and keep it and come back to it and do something like that. So for me, that tier is kind of like create and fill your coaching program. In that program, it's a course. You have the ability to watch the videos. You can come to it at your own pace. I did record it live, so it's infused with a lot of energy. Some of the videos were recorded live, so it's infused with a lot of energy. There's a good Q&A session with the people who are on live, but you can come back to it over and over again, and you get a Facebook group where you can, connect with other students. And then from there, I also would recommend that you have like a lower ticket tier for specific topics. Now, the key here is that none of these are going to cannibalize the others, meaning your lower ticket should not be like, if you're charging, and I'm not going to say any prices, we're going to get that in just a second. But if if you got a lower ticket pricing offer and you're also covering that in your high ticket group coaching, like what's the point, right? Yeah, some people might purchase the high ticket because they want to actually ask you questions and work with you. But in general, like we don't want to cover what we're covering in the high ticket in the lower ticket program. And some of you have heard me say before, all of the programs are the same, right? Like your low ticket is your mid ticket is your high ticket. Yes and no. Yes, from the sense of you still have the same message, but no, from the sense of like, I shouldn't be able to pay this much, like $1 for this information, and then another person is also paying $4 for this information, right? Like we want to make sure that we are providing us an incentive to like get in where you fit in, but at the level based on the information that you desire and the transformation that you desire. Okay, so that's why I recommend having the different tiers and splitting it out in that way. Like, if someone comes and they want to work with you and they're like, hey, I want to work with you. I really want to work with you one-on-one. And you give them the investment for one-on-one and they say, well, it's a stretch for me. Then you can say, that's fine. I also have a group program. We talk about, something a little bit different. But it likely can still help you. But, what I do is like, I'm only going to recommend what I know is going to be the best fit for you. So if I know that one-on-one is the best fit, that's all I'm going to recommend. And I've done that in the past where I've had clients who come to me and they're like, what should I do, your group or your one-on-one? And I'm like, well, based on a number of different factors, like one-on-one is going to be a better fit for you. So let's just do one-on-one. And then they do, and we go from there. So that's the first thing that I would recommend as far as a pricing strategy or practical is like, make sure you have your different tiers. You get to choose your own rates. You get to choose your own pricing. You can choose what feels best for you. Before we get to dollar amounts, let me share with you how I draw that pricing out of the client. Typically what happens is I say, what are you charging? And then they tell me. And if I sense a little bit of wavering, I say, okay, what would you like to charge? And what I want is like, what's the first number that pops in your head? Because that answer, that first number that pops in your head, that's what you want to charge. When you wait, then the other thoughts of like everything else comes. And let me explain to you why this works. You have two processing brains. You've got your conscious brain and your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind processes information at 400 billion bits of information per second. Your conscious mind processes information at 2,000 bits of information per second. Huge difference. 400 billion, 2,000, right? So what happens is when I ask the question of what do you want to charge, your subconscious mind, which processes information at 400 billion bits of information per second, says, boom, this is what I want to charge. Then a couple of seconds later, your conscious mind starts thinking, well, based on what people would pay, based on what someone else charges, based on my expenses, based on what my coaching certification suggested, this is what I want to charge. And so what I do is I kind of see that happening. Like when you watch someone think, you can kind of see that their brain is like processing stuff. And I can see it. Like I see the first rate kind of pop up. And then I see the processing after it. And it's like, it happens in their face. And I say this because like, this is what I do every time. And I promise you, it does not fail. I look at their face and there's like that, literally. You saw how fast it went. It's like, and it's that thing is like, it's the wow, like, yes, I love it. Like I would be so excited if that was the rate I could charge. And then when the subconscious mind comes along, that's when it's like, well, and I see it every time. And I stop them and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. There's a rate that just came in your head. What was that rate? And I ask them. And as soon as we come out with that, you could, like, I can just feel it. It's like, it just feels good. And you can tell like right away, they're like, well, this is what I want to charge. And then they hit the buts. And I'm like, don't worry about the buts. That's my job. My job is to help you with the marketing. My job is to help you reposition yourself for high ticket clients. My job is to help you with the mindset. I am going to help you. But that rate, that's your aligned rate. That's the rate that your subconscious mind said, yes, this is what we want to charge. This is what we know it's worth. This is it. That's the decision that you made. I will help you with the marketing so that your conscious mind, your 2000 bits per second processing speed computer helps to, match up with that 400 billion bits per second computer. Like I will help you with that. But that's how we essentially draw out the rate. And so that's why when clients work with me, when they choose their new rate, whether it's double, triple, whatever it is, yes, intuitive pricing going within. I really, really want to charge 10,000 minimum to work with me. Personally, that's my focus. Okay, so take it out of focus and bring it into the present. Easy. The easiest way. So here's how manifestation works. The quicker you move towards your focus, towards your goal in the direction of what you want to create, the faster that those results come to you. I already know, we've worked together. So I know that what you offer is worth $10,000. So yes, 100%. Charge $10,000. That's your rate. And like I said, you've got different tiers so people can get in where they fit in. You already have your $97 workshop. And now they're like, I need Cammie's energy. I need to work with her one-on-one. Boom, it's $10,000 to work with me one-on-one. Okay. Take it out of the focus, bring it into the present. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, good. Thanks, Robin, for sharing that certification referral. I'm glad you asked that. I'm an introvert as well. Just getting started. Want to set myself up for success. Currently going through training. Yeah. So just to kind of give you like a quick 1 or 2 sentence rundown on what needs to happen. As an introvert, as someone who created my entire business based on the fact that I didn't want to have to do live streams every day. Like I only recently put this live stream into existence in May of 2020. But I have been growing my business since October of 2015, since the end of 2015. So at the first I started and everyone was like, live stream. And I started live streaming and I was like, I'm going to burn myself out. And then they were like, go into Facebook groups and go chat with people and, send them DMs. And I was like, I'm going to burn myself out. And then I was told, okay, go join a local networking organization and go like network with people. And I said, I'm going to burn myself out. Like, none of this is going to work. How am I supposed to have a business as an introvert? You guys follow that, the girl on the reel who's like Majimbo, I think it is. She's like, none of this is going to work. Like eating a chip. That's exactly what I felt like. I was like, none of this is going to work. You're telling me to get clients and do extrovert tasks. It's ridiculous. And so I got to the point where I was like, well, what am I good at as an introvert? I'm really good at connecting with people. I'm great at sales because I'm great at conversations. I just need an easy way to bring people to me. And that's what I created and built. And that's what my entire business is built around. That's what our Path to Six Figures coaching program covers. It covers the system that works great for introverts. And it still works for extroverts as well. And then, they can do all that stuff that they love doing, which is, chatting with everyone. And because that's how they gain energy. And that's great. But as an introvert, like I love my me time. And that's how I gain my energy. Okay. How do you structure one-on-one? you join us inside of Create and Fill Your Coaching Program. And in module 3, I think it is, we cover how to create the coaching program. And I talk about structuring one-on-one. I talk about structuring a group program and workshops, et cetera, et cetera. I don't look like an introvert. Aw. I look at you and admire your courage. Thank you. I love having conversations with very close people, so you inspire me so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, this is only for an hour, guys. After this, I'm laying on the couch for the rest of the day. Oh, I promised you guys I would do pricing. So let's do this before we close it out. In general, all right. In general, for a live stream, free. If you call it a live stream, people are going to think this is free. So in general, live streams are free. However, you can charge for a live stream. If you charge for a live stream, I recommend that you change the name so that it's not called live stream. You call it extravaganza or, summit or live event or whatever it is. Okay. For a workshop / class, in general, I charge up to around $200. So that could be $5, $12, $47, $97, $197, $200. In general, workshop / class is around up to $200. Live or virtual, doesn't matter if we're in person or virtual. In general, for a workshop or class, it's around $200. For a workshop / class, we're typically going into one specific topic, and therefore we can't cover a whole lot of stuff. So for me, around $200 feels good. For a mini course is where we're diving a little bit deeper into one topic. And if you think about this, it's something that if you were to teach it live, you would likely need a couple of classes to teach it live. That's what I consider a mini course. For that, I'm charging up to around $500. Okay, so $497, $297, $197, $27, doesn't matter, but up to around $500. For a module-based course, this is a start to finish, module 1, module 2, module 3, whatever it is. This we're doing up to around $3,000. These are numbers in my business, okay? These are numbers that feel congruent for me. They could be different for you, but in general, this is how I charge, and this is in general what I see in the market. So it's a grain of salt, okay? Take it with a grain of salt. And Create and Fill is a perfect example of this. Create and Fill Your Coaching Program is $14.97 normally. Like I said, right now we're doing special pricing because I'm launching it, but that is a 6-module course. We go over branding. We go over module 1. We do the energy of a fully booked coach. Then we go over branding. So I share with you how to share your story, your unique selling proposition, what should go on your website, and really how to position yourself. Then we go into creating your coaching program. So I cover, all the steps to actually fleshing out and pulling together a coaching program. Then we go over enrolling clients in your coaching program. So I talk about where to find clients, how to start conversations, how to have those conversations. Then we go into launching. So opening the doors, telling people that you are open and available for business. And then we go into sales strategies to fill your coaching programs. And on top of that, you get the very first coaching contract that I created. I share with you my client onboarding workflow. I share with you the coaching goals worksheet. I share a lot of good downloads and templates. It's great for the beginner coach, and it is a start to finish. I also have an entire training on building your own website if you choose to do that. I also share with you where to go and get website if you want someone else to build it for you. Okay. If you include group calls to your module-based course, or if you create a group coaching program, which I recommend that you have a pre-recorded course versus like doing a group coaching program on the fly. But if you include group calls, anywhere up to around $7,000. Generally, that's what I've seen to work well for group programs. You can charge $1,000 for a group program. You can charge I've charged $300 for a group coaching program in the past. There are no rules, so it's really up to you. In general, for a group program, we have gone up to around $7,000. And then one-on-one, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to start. Your one-on-one program is one that it requires the most energy, not necessarily the most like teaching, and like a lot of times your one-on-one clients will be the least labor intensive, but it requires the most from an energetic standpoint as far as like what you're pouring into the client, especially for those of you who are transformational coaches, mindset coaches, anything where you're like helping someone get out of their own funk. Don't go cheap, please. So that's really where we're kind of going, anywhere from like $5,000 to $10,000 to start. And that's essentially where I have been with my pricing. And I will paste this into the comments if this is helpful for you guys, so you can just kind of see it fairly quickly. Live stream free, workshop / class up to around $200, mini course up to about $500, module-based course up to about $3,000. If you include group calls, now we can bump it up to around $7,000. And if you're doing one-on-one, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to start. I'm charging $19.97 for a 12-week for women, but I give everyone a pandemic discount for $4.97. I charge this amount based on my story of being held hostage. Is this a charge price? I'm not sure of the exact question, but if that feels good for you, if it's congruent for you to give a discount for the pandemic, then have at it. Is this price great for a program? Yeah, you might have missed the entire live stream, but what I talked about is like the pricing, the way you're choosing it is based on what you want to charge. So if you feel good about $19.97, where really you're charging $4.97. So if you feel good about charging $4.97 for 12 weeks, then absolutely fine. If you feel like the rate needs to be higher, then definitely I would encourage you to raise the rate. The other thing that I will say is that if any of you guys noticed, did Apple change their rates because of the pandemic? Did Delta change their flight rates because of the pandemic? Did Chick-fil-A give out cheaper sandwiches because of the pandemic? So, and I'm not saying anything bad about offering a different rate because of the pandemic, but don't feel like you have to. Other businesses are not, and some businesses are, just to kind of keep that in mind. But people are still paying the same price for chicken sandwiches, and that line is still out the door. So keep that in mind. And the reason I say that is because I see it a lot with women. A lot of times what we do is we do that often. Like, we are so good at discounting. We're great at discounting. We are the world's best at discounting, helping people out, providing rates. Like, that's what we do. We're nurturers by nature. That's what we do. It's the reason why some of us are called to be mothers, right? That's just our natural mode of nurturing. But you're not required to. You're not required. You're not required to provide a discount. You're not required to slash your rates. You're not required to. Awesome. Okay, good. Well, the replay is going to be up right now because we're going to close it out here. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you guys have any other questions or anything else that you would like to chat, if you weren't here live, just leave them in the comments below. Once again, I do broadcast live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern. I enjoyed chatting with you today for pricing strategies for new coaches. Yes, ma'am. And I will see you guys in the next one. All right. Have a great Saturday. Bye.